Good morning, everyone, and welcome in. I'm Elise Edie, and we're happy to have you with us here on the stream today. So, wow, we are starting out strong. We have meteorologist Alex Forbes, who is joining us right now with a look at what everyone is talking about. You've probably seen the extended forecast, have some questions. Alex, are we going to see some snow?
I've seen so many maps, so many maps. So I think the short answer for 99% of us is no. Okay. But we are going to have, remember the beginning of November, we had those flurries and even a couple of solid snow showers up in northern Georgia. I think what we're going to be experiencing is probably something similar to that. And that's going to be late tomorrow. But the bigger story is how cold it's going to get on Thursday. So we'll talk about the snow. We'll talk about the cold. Let's start with today. 58 is where we're headed this afternoon. Tomorrow, not all that different. 56, your high temperature there. But then we get towards the end of the week, and that's when our highs are only in the 30s and 40s each afternoon. So for today, enjoy the 50s. Get out in the sunshine because it is going to feel nice out there. Sunny day, 55, 56, 57 later on this afternoon. No chance of rain. All right, let's get to it and talk about the winter weather chances we have. First, late Wednesday, so really from the dinner time hours, 5, 6 o'clock until about midnight. We will have some isolated snow showers, it appears, across the mountain counties, places like Fannin, Gilmer, Union, Towns, over towards Rabun and Habersham counties. Some light, and I mean just like a dusting at best, accumulation will be possible in the highest elevations. Now, when I say highest elevations, I'm not talking about downtown Cleveland or downtown Blue Ridge. I'm talking about the tops of the mountains surrounding those cities. And it is possible, much like the beginning of November, that we see a flurry or two on the north side of the metro. Woodstock, Marietta, Roswell, Alpharetta, Beaufort, Lawrenceville. I think that's going to be a possibility, not a guarantee, all right? Now let's fast forward about 48 hours. This is going to be late Friday. Another cold front coming through. It's going to be a similar setup to Wednesday. There's not going to be a lot of moisture for the temperatures to work with. Not to mention the temperatures will not immediately be below freezing. So I think a slightly better chance of seeing something maybe late Wednesday than Friday, but still Friday is a little ways off. It is Tuesday, so that's what we're going to be watching. I mentioned, though, the temperature change being the big story. This is Metro Atlanta. Look at your temperatures sliding.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
50s down into the 30s, but it's going to feel like around 20 there for Thursday morning, according, this is National Weather Service data. Let me pull up some forecast model data here for you. So there's Wednesday at 7 p.m. Look at the disparity. 24 in Blairsville while it's 44 in Eatonton.
Goodness gracious.
Just hold your hat, because here it comes. 19 by 11 p.m. 13 by 4 a.m. We just keep on going. 4 degrees. This is, now, mind you, this is the wind chill. This isn't the actual air temperature. 18 in Athens, 14 in Rome. Rebounding Thursday afternoon. That's the warmest. 26 in Atlanta, 28 in Covington, and 30.
That's a big change.
It is. Now, I also want to point out, right, we're talking about the afternoon hours. You're seeing numbers still below freezing. Our actual air temperatures will get above freezing. So I'm not concerned about pipes or anything like that out of this. So, you know, we talk about the wind chill because that's the impact on humans. But nonetheless, you know, cold no matter how you slice it, right?
Yeah,
So there's your Fox 5 Storm Team forecast. 30% chance of some showers there. I didn't even put a rain chance on Friday or Saturday because I think both of the daytime hours are going to be dry there. It's just that light chance of a wintry mix overnight Friday into Saturday.
But see, that's what's got people talking, you know? It's like seeing that that mix that we're seeing there between
the
Wednesday
little blue
and Thursday.
asterisk falling out of the sky.
Yeah. So have you been like inundated, overwhelmed with people asking questions like about potentially snow?
Well, and it's funny. So Elise and I were talking before we came on. I just got back from a cruise. It was 70 something where I was yesterday.
Welcome back.
Yeah, exactly. So lots of questions, and you know, the most popular question is, am I going to see snow in my backyard? You know, specifically on Elm Street and Woodstock at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, I would say this, that my answer to everybody is there's going to be a better chance of snow across the mountains. A flurry is possible in the metro. If you're wanting some solid snow, go skiing. Don't stay here.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so answering that question, right? And speaking of that, Jonathan Stacy.
That's why it's top of mind.
That's why it's top of mind. Jonathan Stacy is at something really cool. It's in Lake Tahoe, Operation Sierra Storm Weather Conference. How did you not land that? My goodness, you could have gone from a cruise to skiing. Are you kidding me?
I'd be sick. That's how that would work.
You would be sick. You would be sick. But this is a really cool event where Jonathan is. He's doing everything from snow forecasting to severe weather research. Also got some time on the slopes. So let's check in with Jonathan.
This finished a couple runs here at Heavenly Mountain Ski Resort in Lake Tahoe. This world-renowned resort sits on the state line of Nevada and California, and the season, it got off to a dismal start. October, November, and much of December, barely any snow at all. But over the past 2 weeks, the skies have opened up and the snow has fallen. More than 100 inches of snow alone, more than all of last season, just within 2 weeks. Believe it or not, the ground looked like this to a degree in North Georgia just a year ago. We were coming out of our first snowstorm in quite some time. That said, this weekend we were introduced to what could be an early start to the spring severe weather season. And yes, I'm here having fun, but I'm also learning, and I ran into a Georgia native who is not only working with snow forecasters, but he's doing quite the important work of severe weather forecasting from our backyards on his own. Andrew Brady, who is with Open Snow. Glad to have you on, Andrew. You actually grew up in Paulding County?
That's correct.
Okay, and you're still there to this day?
Yeah.
Okay, so as many people at home are aware of, we actually have gotten an early start to the spring severe weather season in North Georgia. The first full weekend or the second weekend in January, at least one confirmed tornado in Carroll County. You're a lifelong Georgia native, but it's combined with the smarts of meteorology. Tell me how things have changed in the Peach State in terms of not only severe weather, but specifically tornado activity over the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah, over the past 10 to 20 years, we've seen tornadoes across the entire area, across Alabama. Those storms form in Alabama and they move over into Georgia. Sometimes long track supercells, long track tornadoes, especially in that corridor just south of Atlanta, close to Peachtree City. There's been a hot spot of activity over the last few years.
We've seen it this past weekend and certainly during the season in 2025. That said, you likely heard me talk about Open Snow, and you're thinking, what is an Open Snow technology or an app that it is? What does it have to do with severe weather in the southeast? But it is really your genius being combined with some of the great work that the folks are doing here out west along the ski slopes to predict just how much snow will fall from more of a recreational standpoint to something that could be almost life-changing, life-saving out in our neck of the woods. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's correct. I started working on a severe weather model called StormNet before I was with Open Snow. I was working on my own, and then my company was acquired by Open Snow in 2024. So I'm still working on StormNet and the severe weather and tornado products, but also working on snow forecasting and terrain bias correction data for Open Snow.
Now, as a meteorologist, I'm really interested in that terrain bias correcting, but you're taking that, those specific instances, and also using AI. Tell me how all this comes together.
Yeah, so we're using artificial intelligence models to essentially downscale and enhance the accuracy and the precision of existing models. So existing models take an average of weather conditions over large areas, and in complex terrain, you're taking data from higher up on a mountain or the base of a mountain. And what we're doing is we're using artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning models in order to find out what's happening at precise points.
Really good stuff here. To mom and pop at home, bring this down to the ground level. How could this make a difference in folks like me getting a head start on forecasting, especially on potential severe weather days?
Yeah, so mom and pop, they want to know what the weather's going to be in their backyard. They don't want to know what the weather is going to be down the street, or, you know, if you're in complex terrain up on the mountain, they want to know what's happening in their backyard. So using artificial intelligence technology, we're able to get precise forecasts for specific points, such as somebody's backyard or an event someone's going to, for example. And when it comes to severe weather, we're using artificial intelligence to do something completely new, which is take a bunch of weather data and then process that down using artificial intelligence to produce tornado forecasts, severe wind forecasts, hail, and lightning forecasts.
Really good there. Precision forecast at its finest, and it continues to grow as you have more weather events occur and the more modeling becomes more sufficient using those AI plugins. All that said, we've seen an example of just how this technology is really coming alive and giving people advance warning beyond the polygons that we're used to seeing with some of our main sources through the federal government. We've seen it come to life as recently as early January. Tell me about the storm that you tracked literally from Oklahoma, produced tornadoes there, and then swept into the southeast.
Yes, we were watching StormNet predictions to tornado probabilities. We were watching them 18 to 24 hours in advance highlight a specific corridor in Oklahoma near Oklahoma City that ended up producing an EF2 tornado. And then we watched the probabilities increase as that storm system moved along through Mississippi and Alabama and even into Georgia, and we saw that with the tornado in Carroll County.
Yes, we saw it right there. We're showing your Twitter image right there that you really kind of blows your mind as a meteorologist that we're able to get that precise. Andrew Brady, once again with Open Snow, thank you so much for the work that you continue to do, not only in our community, but really around the world, and you're making a difference in the world of weather forecasting.
Thank you.
Indeed. Whether it be severe weather or winter weather, the Fox 5 Storm Team has you covered, and I'm here learning a lot and meeting a lot of really cool people who have a lot of knowledge, and I can't wait to pass that along to you. That said, I'm only one wipe out in for this ski trip, so I'll be back out on the slopes tomorrow. A winter wonderland in North Georgia? Well, that can't be ruled out. Temperatures, after all, are going down, but as we prepare for severe weather season, we have to keep this in mind that maybe a little bit of white stuff could even happen for us. From Lake Tahoe, Jonathan Stacy, Fox 5 News.
So cool, and he better make it back here in one piece. Jonathan Stacy there with us today. All right, let's get you to some of the local headlines that we are following for you today, beginning with this one. The Georgia Department of Corrections has identified those 3 inmates that were killed during a gang-related fight at Washington State Prison in East Georgia. So, yeah, that's the name of that. It is called Washington State Prison, but it is located in Davisboro, Georgia. It could be a little bit confusing, but the Washington State Prison here in Georgia is about 54 miles outside of Augusta. So the backstory here, that fight started at about 1:25 p.m. on Sunday on a sidewalk within the facility in Davisboro. That's according to officials there. They confirmed that fight involved gang members there inside the prison. So as the violence began, guards initiated an emergency evacuation of the visitation area, but several injured inmates managed to enter the visitation room before it was fully cleared. So corrections officers utilized non-lethal weapons to try to end the disturbance. GDC reported the facility was back under control and a full count of inmates was completed by about 3 o'clock on Sunday. But in all, 3 inmates were killed. They died. 13 others taken to the hospital for treatment. So here's what we know about those who were killed. Jimmy Trammell, convicted of first-degree burglary in Fulton County, sentenced to 20 years. He was scheduled to be released this month. And Ahmad, looks like Ahmad Hatcher, convicted of aggravated assault in Richmond County, sentenced to 20 years. His maximum release date was February of 2038. Also, Teddy Jackson, convicted of aggravated assault in Bibb County, sentenced to 10 years. He was set to be released in July of 2028. So still some info that we don't have on this. That's the names of those 13 inmates who were hurt, but it's not been released just yet. GDC continues to investigate the specific cause of the fight. We don't know yet if anyone is going to face new charges in this. A guard was also hurt in all the commotion, but officials haven't said how or identified them just yet. So Washington State Prison does remain on lockdown. No timeline's been released for when that could change. So that's what we know about this. The names of those 3 inmates finally being released. On to another big story now. 4 people who were shot at a bar in Douglas County early Saturday morning. This is all according to the sheriff's office. So here's what they've released about what happened there. Douglas County deputies responded to Marlene's Bar. It's on Veterans Memorial Highway at about 2:45 in the morning, and that was following reports of gunfire. So when they got there, they found that 4 individuals had been shot. The victims were taken to a local hospital there for treatment. But according to investigators, the shooting followed several disturbances apparently through the night. Those individuals have been identified as Jack Dwayne Shanks Jr., also Chauncey Deshawn. Shanks was killed in this shooting that we're talking about. Deshawn has been arrested and charged with felony murder, also 4 counts of aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. So we're not showing you video right now because the video you saw a moment ago was wrong. But Fox 5 has reached out to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office for clarification, and we haven't heard back from that just yet. All right, well, still ahead for you this morning, the Trump administration is ending temporary protected status for Somalis who are Somali nationals who are living in the United States. So this is really big, and we're going to get into that in just a moment, so stick around. Welcome back. All right, we're talking flu right now. I feel like we all know someone who's had the flu or is currently struggling with it. Maybe you've had the flu this season as well, but it's hitting Metro Atlanta really, really hard. And local pharmacies are feeling the pressure of high demand for medication for the flu. So, in fact, at Little Five Points Pharmacy, demand has surged as waves of illness have moved through Georgia. The owner says the flu is driving a lot of the rush. Customers are looking for Tamiflu. It's what they want. Also, over-the-counter medicines and home remedies, too. So, according to the CDC, Georgia remains in the very high flu activity category. State data showing more than 400 people have been hospitalized. At least 6 deaths have been reported in Georgia to date this season. Hospitals across the metro say they're busy treating flu patients, but so far they haven't been too overwhelmed by folks coming into the hospital for the flu. But health leaders say it's still too early to know if these flu cases have peaked, and they're urging people to stay home when you get sick. They want you to wash your hands often and also get your flu shot as well. They say it's not too late to do that. Doctors and pharmacists stress, again, it's not too late in the season for you to get that to try to help contain the spread of the flu. So this is the topic that we are staying on top of, the flu. We're also talking cold, RSV. The thing with all of these is that they don't affect everyone in the same way. So for adults and children living with conditions like diabetes, heart disease, chronic lung disease, among many other diseases that affect your immune system, the risks are a lot more severe and significantly higher. So to talk about this a little bit more, we have the president of the American Academy for Family Physicians, Dr. Sarah Nozal. So Dr. Nozal, thanks for being on with us today.
Thank you.
Of course. So how worrisome is this new flu strain that's going around? I mean, what have you seen, and what are you seeing this season as far as the flu?
So I'm a family doc, so that means I get to see everybody from the newborn baby to great grandma and everyone in between in my office. And we've definitely been seeing a lot of flu. The subclade K, which a lot of people have probably heard about, is actually part of what's in the vaccine. The root of it is in the vaccine. It's related to one of the flu A strains that's in the vaccine to protect us. And it's not actually more severe, but a lot less people got vaccinated this year. And so we're looking at that so many people are sick and that it's spreading pretty rampantly. So I'm seeing in my office, like you just reported, I'm seeing in my office people coming in every day with flu-like symptoms, but I'm also seeing a lot of people who were vaccinated and having much milder illness even if they do get sick. And that's what we're thinking about for people with chronic illness, that our goal is that if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, that we know your own disease process is at risk when you get sick, and that you're much more likely to end up hospitalized or in the ICU or worse when you have these respiratory viruses. And that vaccination is the best approach to helping make sure that we turn what could be life-threatening illness to more a mild illness that you can recover from.
So staying on that topic of vaccines, are there different vaccine recommendations for people with chronic and ongoing health conditions?
So absolutely, when you come into my office as a family doc, I'm going to evaluate you based on age, based on your own health conditions and their control, sometimes even what part of the season it is, to help determine which vaccinations are appropriate for you and even how many vaccines are. And so those respiratory vaccines are tailored based on those risk factors and groups, and we're able to help you make those choices. And if you don't have a family doctor that you're seeing regularly, you can go to familydoctor.org or CVEEP.org to see if some risk factor that you might have makes you eligible for a vaccine. You can come get it in my office, or you might end up in the pharmacy or even at your local public health department.
I think it's so interesting that doctors are recommending that although we're relatively late in the season, the flu season's not over just yet, and saying it's not too late to get it. So it sounds like that would be your recommendation too, Dr. Nozal.
So absolutely, what we know is that this flu vaccine and COVID vaccine in particular, and all of the other respiratory vaccines you might be eligible for, are still effective even at this time in the season. And in particular, when there's been an early flu spike in past years, we have often seen a later spike either in flu B or even another variant of flu A. And so that is what you're getting covered, even if you've had the flu. So you knew you were sick, you will not be fully protected without the vaccine. And so today is the best day to receive those vaccinations if you have not yet had that available to you.
So what role do antiviral treatments play in helping folks with chronic health conditions to try to recover from a respiratory infection like the flu or possibly even COVID-19?
So this time of year, when I'm speaking to my patients who I know have chronic disease and who are more at risk, we talk about that if you start to feel sick, you really want to let your family doc know as soon as possible. That within the first 12 to 24 hours of flu symptoms is when medications, antivirals will be the most effective, but they're only effective at decreasing your symptoms. They do not have great research showing that they decrease your risk of complications or death. And that's a little different for COVID-19, where if in the first 5 days we identify you have COVID and we start an antiviral, we do see some benefit that decreases hospitalization and death. Because none of these antivirals are as effective as vaccination at preventing you from getting ill in the first place, that if you are not currently ill with the febrile illness, we would still recommend vaccination as the first line and not be fighting your way through the pharmacy.
Very, very interesting. Answering some questions about this really terrible flu season that we're experiencing here in Georgia. So Dr. Sarah Nozal with the American Academy of Family Physicians. Dr. Nozal, thank you so much for your expertise. We appreciate you being on with us today. All right, our time now is 11:23. Let's jump back into some of these national headlines that we are following for you today, beginning with this one. This is first on Fox. The Trump administration is ending temporary protected status for Somali nationals who are living in the U.S. And this is a move that impacts thousands of people who were granted protections decades ago because of unrest in Somalia. So Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says conditions in Somalia have improved enough that they no longer meet the legal criteria for TPS. And that means Somali migrants must leave the country by March 17th unless they qualify for another status. So this is huge. And officials say that about 2,471 Somali nationals currently hold temporary protected status. About a little over 1,300 have pending applications. And the significant portion of these folks that we're talking about live in Minnesota. It's home to one of the largest Somali communities in the nation. So TPS first granted to Somalia in 1991. It happened amid the civil war there, and it's been extended several times since then, most recently through March of 2026. But critics argue the situation in Somalia remains dangerous. They say legal questions surround how quickly the protections can be ended. And this policy shift comes amid heightened federal immigration enforcement there in Minnesota. You've seen the stories. You've heard about what's happening right there, and growing controversy about how these actions will impact families and the local community. So definitely worth staying on top of that. Here's another one for you as well. TSA will soon start charging $45 for missing IDs at airport security checkpoints. So this is supposed to begin on February 1st, 2026. TSA will start charging $45 if you get to the airport without an acceptable ID, like a passport or like a real ID that you've heard so much about. So the fee is up from an earlier proposal. That proposal was $18. So we're talking about $45. So yeah, definitely made a jump there. They're saying that it's from higher than expected costs for technology and operations to make all this run. So if you don't have a real ID, you can complete verification and pay an online fee before your flight. You'll then get an email confirmation to show up at that checkpoint. It's valid for 10 days. Typically takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Could take up to 30 minutes, though, to get all that done. But the fee's non-refundable. Passengers who can't be verified won't be allowed to fly. Those without the ID in line will be removed to complete the online process. So this is something you want to make sure you have a plan for before you arrive at the airport. TSA notes about 94% of travelers already have acceptable ID, and it's coordinating with airlines to promote the new policy. So if this is not you, if you are not among those 94%, something you definitely want to check out before you head to the airport to try to catch your flight. All right, on to this one. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is rolling out a plan to make the U.S. what he calls a global leader in artificial intelligence, also drones and space technology as well. And he's arguing that the Pentagon bureaucracy has slowed down innovation. He says it's taken a hit due to that. So he spoke alongside SpaceX CEO Elon Musk at the company's facility in Brownsville, Texas, and he announced what he's calling an AI acceleration strategy aimed at strengthening U.S. military dominance. He says the plan builds on advances made during President Trump's first term, and it's designed to make the U.S. an AI-first warfighting force. This is according to him. He stresses that strategy will push rapid experimentation. He says it'll cut the red tape and just focus on investments on real-world results. He also took aim at the defense industry itself. He had a lot to say about this. He said consolidation has created a closed system dominated by a few major contractors. He said the Pentagon plans to open the door wider to tech startups and new innovators to just let more folks in to try to get some work done. And this signals a shift in how the Pentagon plans to compete in rapidly evolving technologies that are critical to future warfare. Okay, we're going to talk about Greenland. I feel like there's been more conversation in the last few weeks about Greenland than probably in most of our lifetimes. So here's what's going on right now. House Republicans are pushing a controversial plan to make Greenland the 51st state as President Trump again presses for the Danish territory to come under U.S. control. Florida Congressman Randy Fine introduced legislation this week that would authorize the president to, quote, take any necessary steps to acquire Greenland and put it on a path to statehood. So Fine is arguing Greenland's critical to U.S. national security, citing its location in the Arctic, control over key shipping lanes, and also its role in protecting the United States. So those are the reasons that are being given here. At the same time, though, a bipartisan congressional delegation is heading to Denmark to try to ease the tensions right now. The group is being led by a Democratic senator. Republicans are in the mix with this as well. They're planning to meet with Danish and Greenlandic leaders a little bit later this week. So why Greenland? That's probably the question that you're asking. That's what folks are wanting to know. Why Greenland and why right now? Well, we mentioned location. It's because it sits right there in the Arctic Circle, and it hosts a major U.S. military base. It's also rich in rare earth minerals, oil, and natural gas as well. So it just makes it a prime spot for the conversation right now. Experts are also saying melting ice could make Greenland increasingly important for global trade and security as well. So nothing's going to happen at this point right now. The proposal, it's a proposal. Got to mention that, just a proposal, but it is drawing a lot of attention, and it's raising some really serious diplomatic questions as well. So yeah, again, the conversation surrounding Greenland is one that you can expect to continue hearing about in the days and weeks ahead. Ooh, so here's one. CDC reporting the first norovirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship this year. I guess it was just a matter of time, but they're saying 90 passengers and crew got sick. This was on a Holland America Lines Rotterdam during its December 28th to January 9th voyage. The ship left from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, made stops in Curacao, Colombia, Costa Rica, Jamaica, and other destinations. 81 passengers and crew members reported diarrhea and vomiting out of about 2,500 passengers on board. So it's actually a lot that were hit hard by norovirus. They say most of the cases were mild and resolved quickly. That's good. But Holland America is saying they stepped up cleaning and disinfecting everything. They isolated those sick passengers and crew and also collected samples for testing. CDC is continuing to monitor the situation, but passengers urged to practice good hygiene while traveling. So certainly not what you want to hear if maybe you've got a cruise that's coming up. Hopefully it's not something that you'll have to deal with, but yikes, quite a mess there. Okay, we're talking Aldi now. It's that budget-friendly grocery chain where so many of you shop. You know, you see the hacks. What I know about Aldi is they've got great prices, and you need a quarter in order to get your shopping cart. But they're expanding this year in a really, really big way. Company announced plans for about 180 new stores across the country. By the end of the year, that'll bring it to about 2,800 locations. This year, they say it aims to reach 3,200 stores nationwide by 2028. So they have really big plans for some really rapid growth. So the Southeast remains one of their target areas where they're hoping to grow. Looks like Florida is going to be one of the focuses of adding those stores too. Also Colorado and Arizona as well. But now it's marking its 50th year in the U.S., which I didn't know. So Aldi's been around here for a really long time. Saying growth reflects sustained demand for its low-cost, no-frills model, selling mostly private label products in smaller stores with fewer employees. So it's obviously working for them. And that demand has surged as shoppers are just looking for ways to try to manage higher everyday costs. Always hear that prices are good at Aldi. There's not one near me, but might need to check one out, see what all the hype is about. Well, President Trump is meeting with top military leaders at the White House today, and this is to discuss options for Iran as protests there continue and the death toll there continues to rise. Iran's government has spent weeks trying to suppress growing protest, that movement that's driven by economic unrest, and human rights groups are reporting hundreds of people have been killed in the crackdown. The White House is saying military action includes possible airstrikes among some of those options that are being considered. So the president's meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and also senior Pentagon officials, but no decision is expected. They say the president's next move remains uncertain, so they're not speculating on what that could do. But the U.S. government is also warning Americans in Iran to leave immediately and not to rely on U.S. assistance to depart the country. So they're saying get out of there right now. But at the same time, the president's announced 25% tariffs on countries that continue to trade with Iran, and that's increasing economic pressure on the regime. So any U.S. intervention could face political challenges at home, particularly among voters who oppose deeper U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts. Well, still ahead for you this morning, we're talking about open enrollment. It's that time of the year for many of you. So, of course, you're trying to pick the right plan for you and your family. And we're going to talk with an expert next. Right now, you may be one of the millions of Americans who are looking for federal or state health plans. It's open enrollment period for many of you, so you're probably trying to take a look at those and just choose the one that fits your needs and your family's needs the best. So we're going to talk about that this morning. Kathy Hempstead, Senior Policy Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, is joining us with a little bit of help. So Kathy, thanks for being with us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into this today. Let's talk about the importance of taking advantage of this open enrollment period.
Well, there's not much time left, so it is important for people to get out there and look at plans. And, as has been widely reported, the plans are less affordable this year than last year due to the expiration of these enhanced premium tax credits. But I think for many people, they will decide that having some coverage is better than going without coverage. So, one of the things that people might do to accommodate to the situation is buy down to a bronze plan instead of a silver plan, which would give you a lower premium, although your out-of-pocket spending naturally will be higher.
Okay, so that's an option here. Let's talk about ways, though, to find more affordable coverage plans, Kathy.
I think it's important to look around depending on where you live. Most people have a decent amount of choice, and you may find that there are, more and less cheaper plans. The plans all cover the same services. So it's, the difference in price between the carriers is going to reflect some things like who's in the provider network, the formulary, things like that, but the basic services that are covered are the same. So I think, people should look and see what's available in their area. And I think the best way to reduce your monthly spending is to drop down to a bronze plan. But even within the, any metal level, there is a decent amount of variation in premiums that people should look at when they're shopping. And that's one of the reasons sometimes people like to work with brokers, because they can give them some advice sometimes about, what is the best option for them. But, not everybody uses a broker, but it's certainly an option.
So something to consider potentially. So what you said about a lot of folks being shocked as they've gone in and just seen some of these price changes. Talk to us a little bit about these ACA tax credits expiring and just kind of what we're seeing in the landscape here. I mean, it's something that a lot of folks are having to deal with right now.
It's such a confusing environment for consumers. I really feel sorry for people that are out there just trying to get covered and haven't been following every twist and turn of the story, because it's complicated to begin with, and then it's gotten more complicated. An important thing for consumers to understand is there still are tax credits in the Affordable Care Act marketplace. But what's gone now are these enhanced premium tax credits that actually added to the tax credits, making the plans even more affordable, and also gave tax credits for the first time to people at the higher end of the income distribution. That's people with income of 400% of poverty or over. And, just for reference, that's like $62,000 or so annual income for a single person. So, some people might be listening to the news and conclude that there are no more tax credits at all. That's not true. The sort of basic ACA tax credits are still in place, but for many people, they found the coverage wasn't as affordable as they needed it to be, especially for people that faced that cliff over 400% of poverty. So, people should keep in mind that the plans are not as affordable as they were last year because the enhanced premium tax credits expired. However, there still are tax credits. You can save money by buying down. And Congress is still thinking about doing something about this. Congress is still contemplating whether or not they're going to retroactively extend some fix to the tax credits. And if they do, probably, although there's no playbook for this, but probably there will be another open enrollment period, and people will be able to go back and maybe change from bronze to silver or choose a plan or, make other kinds of changes. And that would be, a wonderful benefit for consumers. But I don't think anyone should sort of sit on the sidelines and hope that happens. I think people should take advantage of the time when they can still enroll in coverage and make the best choice that they can for themselves and their family. And that's not just about the price, the premium, and the cost sharing, but also looking at what providers are in network, what hospitals are in network, what does the drug formulary look like? Because even though all the plans cover the same services, and that's really important to remember, there are differences in, what plan is going to actually serve someone better depending on what their needs are and where they live.
I'm getting some help today from Kathy Hempstead with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Kathy, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Sure, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Our time now is 11:40, and coming up this morning, we heard from Matt Ryan, the new president of football for the Falcons. So we're going to break all that down right after this. Welcome back. Well, there's a press conference that's underway right now with the new president of football for the Falcons. We're talking about Matt Ryan. So we have Fox 5 Sports' Olivia Whitmire here just to tell us what's being said and what some of the big takeaways are, Olivia.
Yeah, it's been a really exciting morning. Arthur Blank, Matt Ryan, and Greg Beadles all speaking as we speak. Actually, that press conference still ongoing, so we're going to have a lot of full coverage from you guys from Flowery Branch with Justin Felder and Victor Prieto later on this afternoon. But while they're still talking, we can go ahead and chat about it. Just a really exciting day for Atlanta Falcons football. You know, Arthur Blank described it as a celebration for the entire city of Atlanta, and he reminisced back to Matt Ryan's playing days. He said, listen, those 14 years that Matt Ryan was here playing for the Falcons, those were the best 14 years of our franchise history, both on the field and off the field. So he's super excited to have Matt Ryan back. He said, hopefully for the next 14 years, and then maybe the foreseeable future after that.
We hope so.
Yeah, we're hoping to keep him around for a long time. But Matt, he just seems super excited about this. He said, you know, my goal has not changed since I was drafted to be a part of this program, and it's to help this organization. It's to help them build champions, and it's to help them win championships. So hopefully, maybe the Matty Ice era, the new era of Matty Ice, can bring us some championships.
Would love to see it. Would love to see it. So during the break, you mentioned, we were just talking about some of the questions he'd been asked. Someone asked about starting quarterback for next season. What did he say?
Yeah, of course, you know, with Matt Ryan being one of, if not the best quarterback to ever play for the Atlanta Falcons, of course, you know, he probably knew that question was coming, especially with the health of Michael Penix Jr. kind of being up for debate. We're not sure exactly when he's going to return from injury next season, but he was asked, will you, as this new president of football, play a role in deciding if he's the starting quarterback moving forward, or if maybe it'll be Kirk Cousins? And he said, listen, I wasn't hired to be the quarterback's coach, so that's not my job. I wasn't hired to be a coach, but just reiterating that same statement, I'm here to help the organization. So if that means helping Michael Penix develop into a franchise quarterback like Arthur Blank has said that he believes he's going to be, there's no one better to take that advice from than Matt Ryan. So whether that's there to help Michael, whether that's there to help Kirk, if we've got Kirk next season just kind of maneuvering through the quarterback's room, he's here to help. Simple as that, but he's not here to coach.
So no answer but an answer.
Exactly.
Right? Like he didn't give away too much.
Exactly.
Did he say anything in the time that you were listening to him about the head coach situation?
Yeah, so they did confirm, and we knew this already. They've been confirming every time that they have officially interviewed someone. We've interviewed 6 people for the head coach job. No general manager interviews have been conducted just yet. Those will come hopefully in the next few days and everything like that. But they didn't suggest if they were leaning towards anyone in particular.
No hints were given.
No hints were given. No.
Got it.
I want to say, of course, a lot of people kind of have Jim Harbaugh circled on their calendar and are interested to see how Harbaugh turns out and see where he goes and everything like that. But yeah, very interested to see what happens. But no, we're not really hinting at anything in today's press conference.
So it's been interesting. Again, it's still going on right now. So our Fox 5 Sports team is going to have all of the highlights from that throughout the day, noon, during all the streams, and on our evening newscast as well. So Fox 5 Sports, Olivia Whitmire, thank you so much for your expertise on that. We appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. We're going to switch gears now just a little bit. Let me find where we are in all of this. Okay, here we go. President Trump's administration is stepping up security at the World Cup venues this summer. So if you've been, watching the news, or unless you've been living under a rock, you know that we have that to look forward to this summer. And they're saying they're doing this in order to protect it from potential aerial threats. So the Department of Homeland Security says it's investing $115 million into counter drone defense measures at venues that are hosting FIFA World Cup events. Measures also expected to be used at events celebrating the country's 250th anniversary. Both of those happening around the same time this summer. So Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the investment is part of the administration's efforts to protect the country's broader and interior as drone use continues to rise. They didn't say what they were planning to use, what those measures will be that are implemented at the venues, just that a lot of money is going to be put into protecting those venues, including right here in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I think Atlanta Stadium, as we'll be calling it during the World Cup. And as it gets closer to happening here in Atlanta, of course, we're talking about the World Cup, an initiative to transform the BeltLine into the nation's largest outdoor art gallery is underway. So we have our Chris Rosenthal, who's joining us right now with some of those efforts. So, Chris, good morning. All right, we had Chris. We don't have Chris now. We do have Chris. Do we? Oh, there you are. Hey. Okay, I see you. Yep.
Hello,
okay,
hello.
see you and hear you. Hey.
All right. Good to hear you too. So yeah, so if you've been on the BeltLine, there's a lot of art out here along the way. It is kind of like a giant outdoor art museum, and expecting a lot of visitors coming up this summer for the World Cup. It's a chance to show off some of that art, show off some of what the city has. And I am here with Chelsea. She is with the Atlanta BeltLine. And we're going to go for a little walk here along the BeltLine and just tell me a little bit about some of the initiatives you have coming up. You have some open calls here.
Yes. We have an annual open call, and that'll be opening probably in the next month or so. And it invites artists and cultural producers to, basically submit to put their artwork on the BeltLine. And it doesn't have to be sculpture, mural based. It can be performance. We're really asking folks to get creative and get people activated out here on the BeltLine.
I mean, what does it mean for you guys to have all these kind of eyes coming here and be able to show off some of the art in this city?
It means everything. We love to have folks who represent the diversity of Atlanta here on display, local, and have a world showcase when we have all these visitors coming for the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of funding for this.
Yes, so we have tax allocated funding, but this specifically comes from philanthropic dollars and grants.
Gotcha. And how much would you say you guys have gotten so far?
I mean, that's hard to say. Yeah.
If people want to get involved,
yes.
How can they?
To get involved, there are multiple ways. We like to invite a lot of community engagement, so you can be a reviewer for a panel. So that means whatever work comes through these calls, you can score and let us know what you want to see on the trail. Or you could be an artist or a cultural producer and actually have your artwork or performance directly on the trail.
And speaking of art and artists, we've got Naomi here, and you're part of this project here. And tell me, as an artist, what does it mean to have your art out here for potentially the world to see?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, graffiti writers have been painting these BeltLine walls long before the BeltLine was even an idea. So it's really cool that in this new era of public art and art on the BeltLine, we're able to still maintain representation for the culture that was here from the very beginning.
Absolutely, and a lot of folks will see some of this coming up in the. And tell me a little bit about this. What we're looking at.
Yeah, so this wall is a traditional graffiti production. It's got 21 artists, all coordinated colors and themes and pieces, with a bit of a cyberpunk Atlanta theme, fully coordinated by Atlanta's very own Mr. Totem, a legendary graffiti writer, world-renowned. So, yeah, this is an incredible project, and we're really excited that the BeltLine gave us the space to allow these artists to showcase their true mastery.
Absolutely, and beyond the World Cup in November, you guys will be doing more of this, huh?
Yes, the Atlanta Style Writers Jam every November on the Atlanta BeltLine.
Awesome. So there you have it. So more art to come. Looking for more art. If this is constantly ever-changing palette out here. So definitely plenty for people to see when they come out here in 2026 for the World Cup.
One of the spots that makes Atlanta cool, no doubt. All right, Chris, thanks for showing us that. We appreciate it. It's 11:51. We are back right after this. right, let's get to some international headlines that we're following today. An international police operation led by Spanish National Police has stopped almost 10 tons of cocaine from reaching the streets of Europe. So here's what we know about it. Police seized a cargo ship off the coast of the Canary Islands after months of investigations. The 29 drug bundles were hidden in a shipment of salts. So take a look as officials have to dig for those drugs, try to get to those. Total of 13 people have been arrested. Spanish police were assisted by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, the U.K. and Brazilian law enforcement to try to make all of that come about. So really, really big drug bust happening there in the Canary Islands. Well, hundreds of Parisian farmers are hopping on their tractors to protest a European Union trade deal. These French farmers continued their staged protest on Tuesday, driving tractors through Paris. Boy, that's something you don't see every day. Comes ahead of the a trade deal signing that's scheduled for January 17th. And it involves 5 South African nations. It's been in negotiations for more than 2 decades now. But the deal aims to create one of the world's largest free trade zones and a quarter of the globe's gross domestic product. So the farmers allege the deal would lead to cheaper imports, essentially threatening their livelihood. So yeah, tractors taking over the streets there in that part of Paris. Well, first responders in Ukraine are working right now to rescue people from damaged buildings. This is following a deadly strike from Russia. Authorities in Kharkiv are saying at least 4 people were killed and 6 others were hurt after a Russian strike hit a postal terminal early today. So authorities say the first responders have saved 30 people so far from the damaged building, and rescue efforts continue despite ongoing attacks from Russia. All right, let's get to a big story here from home. We're talking about the weather. You might have some questions about whether or not we're going to see snow here in Georgia this week. So here's what our meteorologists are saying right now as we take a live look out right now. You see the gold dome right there in the skies. Blue skies, a pretty nice day, kind of what you expect. Typical January day, highs in the upper 50s today. Lots of sunshine, light west winds as well. But the big conversation right now is that Gulf Coast should bring us some showers and potentially, depending on where you are in Georgia, some flurries as well. But here's the thing, accumulation there should be less than an inch of snow. Most of us here in the metro have really no chance of getting any of that. But still a big conversation, and just wondering if it's something that's gonna hit near us. But wind chills for much of the day on Thursday, that's also the big story here, are expected to be in the teens, which is a really big change when you're talking about today, those temperatures being in the 50s. So this is certainly a week of change as far as the temperature is concerned.
I'd cite your honors to our record in which our expert, Dr. Brown, shows the experience of one C.C. Telfer, an elite track athlete who underwent a medical transition and whose track times did not change. That is the story in many situations, and unless we can reliably distinguish between those situations and the situations which testosterone suppression does reliably eliminate the advantage, then we can't do that. We need a broader classification, and sex is the right one. And if it were merely politically motivated, I would add we wouldn't see this same rule being implemented by World Athletics, World Boxing, the NAIA, these different groups that were not influenced by recent politics, but came to these decisions after studies, after lengthy examination, and reached the same decision that Idaho has. Justice Gorsuch, in your colloquy with Respondents' Counsel, she agreed with us that this is not the same as the discrimination